All right, we are up and live, Lindsay.
Hi guys, we're back. Yay.
For
This
now,
might
anyway.
for now, this might very well be our last live on TikTok on the clock app.
TikTok on the clock because the party's about to stop in 4 days.
In 4 days. So
4 days.
guys, if you're following us on TikTok on Ye Old Clock of App or App of Clock, please
No.
please come follow us on where is it? This one.
Hold on. I got to change my screen. You didn't. Wait, hold on. There. Now I can show it. There it is. See, what people don't know is Lindsay's controlling it on one thing and I'm controlling it on TikTok. So we have to bounce between screens and we're not coordinated that way. So if you want to be our producer and work behind the scenes. Oh, Sarah just jumped on. Hey, Sarah. Hi. Anyway, so yeah, it's did you watch the Supreme Court case?
I did not.
I did. I'm a sicko like that. And
it's not that I didn't want to, it's that I have other things to do, like mom and wife. The wifing is the big one.
Well, the reason I wanted to watch it is because I knew what was coming. I knew what their argument was going to be, which is it's a First Amendment thing. It's a violation of TikTok's free speech to ban them. Coming from a company that has banned me 3 times. And God knows, I know Sarah recently got banned. I know she's on. I think you had banned a couple times, right?
I've been banned a couple times. I have lost. I've had like 18 videos muted for copyright reasons, even though it's me talking.
How many times has our live either been shut down or restricted or anything? So for this blowhard, I actually think he was doing a nice job. It's a losing case, but I thought the lawyer was doing a nice job. But he's sitting there and he's like, well, blah, 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 blah. And I was like laughing my ass off going, you got to have a big set of brass ones to stand there knowing what your company does and say. But anyway, having watched it, jacked up, I am on Clapper. Clapper is the most useless, worthless one there is. I have no traction on there. They don't show my videos to anyone. So Clapper, I'm not going to that red thing either. If you want to follow me, switch it over, Lindsay. Show where you can follow me, and then we'll show Lindsay right after that. So there's all where I'm going to be, which is YouTube, Insta, Facebook, where I'm rocking and rolling right now, X, Twitter, and I put the TikToks there for now. And then Lindsay, whenever you're ready, switch it over to you. And that's where you can follow Lindsay.
I only have so many, although I am active on Facebook quite a bit. I've been very active on Facebook, at least on commenting wise. I've pissed a lot of women off.
Now put the Boy Meets Squirrel up so they can see where they really need to go, like right now. So while you're watching this, jump over, especially guys, this is where we need everybody's help. I don't care what platform you're on. I know damn well you have a Facebook one. You may not use it, and that's okay. But jump over to Facebook, go look up Boy Meets Squirrel, and follow us. We are 20 short of being able to go live on Facebook, and with TikTok probably gone after Sunday, I want to be able to move this show live over to Facebook so it's elsewhere and people can find it. Your turn, girl. Go.
That's really it. We only have the 3 right now for Boy Meets Squirrel. I am not as prolific, I guess, as my friend Dan over here.
How am I more prolific?
You're in more places.
I have more accounts. Yeah, you have doing this.
You have more fingers and more pies than I do.
Careful how you say that. This is a family operation.
I have more fingers and more pies than I am.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know about you, Lindsay, but I put my main right now is YouTube and has been for months. I put a lot more content there than I do anywhere else. If you follow me on TikTok, with rare exception, every video I've done on TikTok is also on YouTube. But there's a lot of YouTube videos that are not on TikTok due to length or content, because I know they will flag me if I post them there. So make sure you follow us on all those ones. My 2 cents, I think TikTok will not go away. I think there's going to be a whole bunch of hooey about nothing in the long run. That they're going down on Sunday, but really all that's happening is they'll probably get removed from iTunes and the app stores. But the app's still going to exist, still going to work. They won't be able to update it or anything. So it may get laggy over time and all that. Or ByteDance, parent company, may pull it. Who knows what they're going to do? I know there's all sorts of rumors out there. The best one I've heard is Elon's going to buy it. I'll believe that one when I see it. But we intend to be here next week if you're on TikTok, but we don't know. So make sure you follow us on the other ones. Anything more you want to add before we get into your awesome topic of the day?
No, I think that's it. I think we've covered all of our bases. So once again, guys,
I'll get back to it though.
Well, yes, we'll get back to it in a little bit. But once again, I am the problem because I came up with our topic for today. I actually came up with it last week when I gave Dan options.
And they were all good. So I'm like, well, if we don't do this one this week, we have to do it this week, which is the one we're doing.
So we are talking about motherhood and how women love to claim that, oh, we are so put upon, we do it all. And my 2 cents in that is, yes, we do, but only because we do it to ourselves. Like our workload is completely self-imposed. Lynn from Green County Land did a short video on this, and now we're expanding on the topic. But
I did not see Lynn's video. What did she say?
She basically said the same thing. She's like, well, if you feel that you're overworked, why don't you consider letting dad do some of the work? And then down to I raced to the comment section.
Boy.
I ran to the comment section with my popcorn bucket and my wine glass. I was like, this is going to be great. Because the mere suggestion that a woman relinquish some of the burden to a father, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what the kids are going to starve. I'm like, if he's that stupid, oh my God, why'd you marry him?
This mindset. And I actually did a video recently on it, and I've got another one queued up coming up, very similar. Today, the youngins mostly, literally to a T believe that men are incapable of feeding themselves, clothing themselves, cleaning a house, all of that stuff. And I'm just going to point a few things out. Most restaurants, the head chef happens to be a man. Most dry cleaners happen to be a man. I've walked into, I don't know how many single guys' houses. They've managed to feed themselves, clothe themselves. More often than not, their apartments or houses are immaculate. I've also walked into some single women's houses, and some were clean, and some were, let's just say, not so clean. But this mindset they have, where they literally believe that men are incapable of feeding themselves, blows my mind when there's millions of examples proving otherwise.
So my clap back on, because I actually touched on this on Facebook this week, actually, in one of the many comments that landed me in Facebook jail. I have since gotten out. I sprung myself free because I sent them a, hey, my account's in good standing. I have no violations and no restrictions. Why can't I comment on anything? And I sent it to them like 5 times. They finally said, we're sorry. It was our mistake. Yeah, sure. But my comment to that is, the girls were complaining, and these are the young, freshly out of high school, in college, or freshly out of college girls. And they're complaining that, well, the men that they know don't know how to do all these things. And whose fault is that? Could it possibly be that their single mothers didn't teach them how to do shit? So
but again, I mean, they see one guy and it's all mental, it's no mental, right?
And
it all falls into that same dynamic where they in a nutshell, and I did a video on this recently. I have another one coming out. They're just wallowing in their victim mode, right? It's better to claim that men can't do all these things and believe it. They're not lying.
No, they
right?
truly
They
believe.
truly believe it. And that just my mind, right? It's like, have you ever been to a restaurant, honey? Ever? Because last I checked, most chefs were men.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I have met in my 36 years, I have met more women who didn't know how to cook than men.
Yeah, DoorDash and what's the other one? Instacart or whatever is not cooking, ladies.
So yeah, so and we're not talking chicken nuggies and corn dogs and the instant whatever, the what's it called, air fryer, which
Hey, I use an air fryer all the time. Wait, careful.
so do we. But when the kid if it's every night your kids need food and you're giving them chicken nuggets and corn dogs and that's the extent of your cooking ability because you can't boil water to save your life, well then you have failed as a person, not just as a mom but as a person. And it comes back down to the fact that they truly believe that men are that incompetent. And
but why, Lindsay? Where are they I know I have my theories, but I want to ask you as a woman, who the hell's teaching them this?
Other women.
Yes,
It's other women telling other women that men are incompetent. And then the one time a woman, myself, for example, stands up and goes, "No, they're not." They turn around and go, "Sit down, shut up. Yes, they are." I'm sorry. Bad, Lindsay, bad. And I always ask them, said, well, then teach them. They're like, well, I'm not their mother. Okay, well, then go march up to their mother and ask her, demand, why didn't you teach your son how to do this? And see how far that gets you.
Oh, they'll never do that.
It's like I issued a challenge on a TikTok video. The first year I was on TikTok, we were talking about weaponized incompetence, the folding of the towel thing. And here's my thing. Yeah. If it is a towel that I don't have to fold or a dish I don't have to wash, then it has been done correctly, because you can either have help or you can have it done your way. You can't have both. And I said, okay, so most husbands or spouses, partners in the age bracket that we're talking about now were raised by predominantly single mothers, or they were taught how to clean a house by a mother. So what you're really saying is that when you say that he's folding the towels wrong, is that his mother taught him wrong, because who taught you how to fold towels? Your mother. So what you're saying is he was taught incorrectly. So I dare you, I challenge you to go tell his mother that she's folding the towels wrong and that she taught him wrong. Oh, they did not like that.
What did any of them have a respectful reply to counter it?
No. Not a single one of them, because there is none.
There is none. But, and it blows my mind. I remember 40 years ago, with my first wife, there were certain things she did differently than me. And there were points of contention, like loading the dishwasher. There was a certain way it had to be done, and her way was the only way. Well, F that. I'm going to load it my way, and guess what? They got just as clean, But because I didn't have everything lined up perfectly well, because it had to be all lined up. Now, I'm the one with OCD, by the way, but it's a dishwasher. If the shit is in the dishwasher, it's going to get clean. Right. And she would just lose it over that. And I'm like, what makes you think your way is any better than mine? And that was there's a reason I'm not married to her anymore. But it really goes back to, they're trying to play into their victimhood, right? It's, they never see anything men do, right? How many women you say, I have to do it all? No, you don't. No, you don't. He's doing something. It's just that you won't acknowledge it.
I did a breakdown of to talk about who's doing the most work to contribute to the household. I said you break it down into the number of hours worked in order to maintain the financial burden of the household, and then the domestic burden, and you break it all up. And if the man is providing 70% of the financial burden, well, then it makes sense that for his total of the 100% of his contribution, if he's doing 70% of the financial, he should only be doing 30% of the household, and vice versa. And I broke it down like that and said, when you break it down by hours worked, turns out most guys are actually doing more than their wives. And apparently I don't understand how math works.
Well, Lindsay, first of all, you didn't count it right? You have to understand that doing the dishes means that you don't just count putting it in the dishwasher and pushing the button and taking it out. You have to count the time that it runs while you're sitting making TikTok videos, bashing your husband for not doing any housework. Same thing with laundry, right? Just because you put it in and take it out, it only counts when you factor in all that time that machine is running. And that's what they do. And that's what studies do, by the way.
Yes, that is what studies do. And that is what women do. And I sit there and I call them on their bullshit every time, because you can't count. You can only count your labor. The machine doing it for you is not
pushing that little button. It's so mental. I did a video on this too. It's so mentally taxing. The poor thing. This is what I said in my video. She was exhausted from having to push that button and then go sit on the couch for 2 hours making a TikTok video, bashing her husband.
Or I got into another commenter said, well, women do most of the housework. And I said, yeah, because they do most of the housework. That is true. But the husband is providing the financial side so that, and that's another thing that women, I got in so much trouble. I made a video. It said, technically speaking, if you are a stay-at-home spouse, you are absolutely getting paid. Your paycheck may never be handed
roof over
to
your
you,
head.
but your half of all of the bills, your contribution to all of the bills is being paid for with your spouse's labor. So technically speaking, whoever is working, male or female, but usually the husband, he's your boss. And your labor is only worth your half of the bills. And they didn't like that, predictably.
Oh, I'll bet they didn't.
They hated that. And they're like, well, we do all these things. You've seen the meme where they pop up and you say you're professional.
Oh, on Mother's Day?
All these things, and it adds up, you couldn't afford me. And I go, okay, honey, the problem with that is that you're adding up the full-time salary of a professional chef who works 8 to 10 hours a day. You don't work 8 to 10 hours a day chefing. You might spend an hour cooking every day. Might. And if your kids are in school, then that's even less, because school feeds them 2 out of 3 meals, right? So you're 30-minute meals, maybe with, a little bit of prep. But also you have to understand there are different levels of cuisine, like different, like they pick a 5-star chef at some fancy New York restaurant and take their salary. No, if all you're making is Dino Chicken Nuggets, and I love Dino Chicken Nuggets, don't get me wrong, but if that's the extent of your culinary mastery and that's all you can do, then you can't charge your labor at the 5-star restaurant price. You can at best charge yourself for a shift worker at McDonald's.
Or you just sent a hat and mustache, so Lindsay has to go.
Yeehaw! If TikTok goes away, I don't have to do that anymore.
Well, yeah.
We're going to have to come up with a new gimmick.
I want to get back to the conversation, but before I say it, Spud Steer asked, what kind of headphones am I wearing? These are cheap $5 dollar store, Five Below headphones. They do the job for this. I have really good ones, but I don't use them for this. So getting back to what you're talking about, like I see that meme come out every Mother's Day and I laugh, because technically I was a chef at a world famous restaurant. It happened to be Golden Arches, but it is a world famous restaurant. I am not lying when I say that. And I was technically a quote unquote master chef there. That compared to, I don't know, Emerald Lagasse, just to pick
Yeah.
a name, is two entirely different things. And like you said, they count all of those things as if they're doing all of them at the same time, 40 hours a week.
And
Well,
you're not.
you're not. You're not even close to that. I
said
have been a stay-at-home myself, and I know you are. 2 hours a day is all it took me, and I had 6 kids taken care of.
I break it
2
down.
hours.
I break it down like this. Yes, you are doing multiple different positions, but at best, you are a manager at a busy restaurant, a shift manager at a busy restaurant on a Friday or Saturday. That's about it. Yeah, you're doing lots of different positions. You're going wherever you're needed, but that's all you're doing. And whatever they're making, that's what you're like. Women, I've seen so many women overvalue their labor. Like, you couldn't afford me. I'm like,
oh, but honey, I could.
oh, I could. Not only could I afford you, I could afford you with change. Like,
well, it's funny you say that because I was just pricing to have a cleaner come in once a week to do the whole house. Take about 3 hours, said $100. And I just looked at her and I went, I'll get back to you because I may do it, right? Because I do it now. And I'm like, 3 hours? Yeah, that's about what I spend a week to clean it. So it's, do I want to offload it so that I can spend more time making videos? That's one of the reasons I'm looking at it, right? Because I do 90% of the housework here, and I'm not looking to take credit for it. But I'm like, that's what it's worth, $100 a week, not the whatever number they throw out on those memes.
yeah, for a professional cleaner who does, 7 houses in one day or something like that. And I'm like, I've been to some of y'all's houses. Y'all have dogs. I walk in and the dust bunnies are like this big and they attack my feet and they're so huge that they deserve to be charged rent. And
now, I will grant the professional will probably do a better job than me. I'll give you that because that's her job. But $100 a week. So it's, if I had her in, that's $400 a month max. And I've gotten references on her. The place will be immaculate when she's done. And now there are Orami's on a roll, another hat and mustache.
Yeehaw!
We got to get him in while we can, because guys, if you're on TikTok, you need to go follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Insta. Put the banner up again. Hang on, I got to clear it over here. There. Because we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. As you all know, the ban's coming. So we're going to periodically mention that. I'll leave this up for a few seconds. But, again, like Lindsay just said, cooking, hour. I probably spend, because I make 80% of the dinners. Well, today alone, I made dinner. It's sitting in the Instapot right now on the slow cooking section. It took me a whole 15 minutes to make it. That was it. And it's not chicken nuggies. It's a pot roast with all the fixins. Real hard.
So I broke it down once. I need to do the study again where I sit there and I time myself for my individual tasks, how much time I actually spend keeping house, because not only do I do the job that so many women actually claim they do, but then I also do content creation. So I'm running 3 at-home businesses in addition to the stay-at-home momming, which I despise that term because my children are both in school. I don't do a lot of momming. I really don't. I'm more of a traditional homemaker. But a little background, a little backstory is I was taught how to keep house by my grandmother, who was born in 1917, lived through the 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and majored in home economics and taught it for 4 decades, 40 years. She taught home economics.
In school?
In school, yes.
Okay.
Back when it was a required course where you had to take it. It should be, along with civics and basic economics. But she taught me how to keep house. And ladies or gentlemen, whoever's out there, and if it is honestly taking you 24/7 to keep your house maintained, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
you have
really
horrible time management skills. And I say this as someone with ADHD. I don't have ducks or a row. I have a tree with squirrels and they're everywhere. And if you need to plan your day, plan your tasks, and if you execute it correctly, you can be done in as little as 2 to 3 hours, depending on what you have to do.
2 hours is all it took me.
To maintain your house. Now, if you're doing like an extra project, like a spring cleaning, or a deep cleaning project, that's different. And that's not something you do every day. But for my family of 4 and my 2,400 square foot house, it takes me 3 to 4 hours, depending on how much laundry I have to fold. Whether I'm ironing, I guess I could say. And that's it. The rest of the day is mine to run the 3 businesses and do other stuff. So,
and I can mirror the same when I do it,
and guys are just as good at this. So the women out there who sit there and claim I do it all and he does, and that's part of what we're talking about, is that, one, you're not doing the job you claim to do. You are overselling, overestimating what you're doing. And
they wouldn't do that.
No, they wouldn't exaggerate. Women don't ever exaggerate. What are you talking about?
They don't play victim. Come on.
But at the same time, I have seen women do this. I have been at their houses, like on play dates or something, and I've seen the mom get overwhelmed, and the dad will come up to her and say, "What do you need? What do you need?" She goes, I'll do it. Never mind. You won't do it right. He is offering to help you, to share that burden, and you refuse. So you're holding basically a sandbag, complaining about how heavy it is. But when someone offers to take it from you, you refuse. And then you stand there having refused and say, "Why is no one helping me?" Bitch, please.
Yeah, right. Child, please. Country's just, he over on Instagram, he said the longest time to cook a meal is 2.5 hours to make homemade chicken noodle soup. Made everything from scratch, and it fed 20 people so I can eat all week. Yeah, I guess the brisket that I made on New Year's Day that I started the day before, I guess technically I spent 18 to 24 hours cooking, right? Because
gumbo is the thing that takes the longest.
I mean,
technically speaking, I guess if we're processing our own deer, that takes a while, but that's not really cooking. What's the thing? Bread. When I make bread from scratch, yeah, you have to let the dough rise, but I spend a lot of time with it, taking in and out of the oven and whatnot. But that's probably those are the 2 things.
I just dump it in the bread maker and then I don't have to worry about
it. Of all the things we cook, the things I cook, those are the 2 most labor intensive, and it still does not add up to.
Not even.
I'm on the clock 24. I love how these women try and make it sound. You would think that the amount of labor that they do, that they are in the trenches at Normandy.
And yet they have time to make how many videos to put up on.
And yet they have time to partner shame, which is
all over the place.
Abuse, by the way.
Mm.
And complain about. I did see a video that was very. They were poking fun at the partner shaming. She's complaining that he left his shoes in the bathroom, but she made sure she panned the camera enough to see her makeup piled all over her side.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
and you can tell it's tongue in cheek. I made I made a reverse partner shaming video. It's up on my YouTube, where I go around my house pointing at the messes that are all mine.
And there were many.
I was a messy, messy, messy squirrel that month. Messy. But you want to complain that men don't help you, or my favorite is that men that are incompetent. And my question is always, if they're truly that stupid, there would have been signs.
How did they survive before you then, honey?
And if they're truly that stupid, why did you marry them? And for the love of all that is holy, why did you reproduce with them?
So Maggie said over on YouTube, my mom used to complain all the time that she does all the work, but my dad worked, and it just scrolled on me. My dad worked 6, but I grew up believing her and seeing her point of view to be correct. That is one tough job. I've been watching Landman. Have you ever seen that?
Eric's been watching it, yeah.
Oh my God. Best one I've seen in a long time. I just watched the last episode of this season. And I know how tough it is to work in the oil fields. Not that I've ever done it, or on an oil rig, or running electrical lines and digging sewers, or as they're doing in my neighborhood, trenching and getting ready to run internet cable, which I have done some of that. That kind of work is backbreaking, literally, and exhausting. And they're doing it usually 12 hours a day, sometimes more. And then they're expected to come home and do 50% of the housework while she's been sitting in an air-conditioned office answering phones. There is a night and day difference between that. And my argument is, if you think that's unfair, switch roles.
So Maggie also said, Maggie's one of our faithful followers.
I love
Hi,
Maggie.
I love Maggie.
Maggie's thinking I'm talking about my dog's name is Maggie too. She keeps looking at me.
We're not calling you a dog.
No. But
He says, I found that as a woman and mom, the things I get resentful of the fastest, cooking especially, are things I don't even do well for myself if I was by myself. It's real easy to get resentful of others when we don't do it for ourselves. And I mean, that's true. Every now and then I get really tired of picking up Eric's underwear and socks. That's Mr. Squirrel for the uninitiated. But the other day, he took everyone in our family over Christmas to his job where he runs a $2.6 billion simulator for the Air Force. And I got to watch him work, actually run the simulator. I could not do his job. I could not do it at all. He could do my job, but I could never ever do his job. And I think that's one of the things that women aren't very good at doing. We want desperately for men to be in our shoes, to look at our perspective, but we are not willing to extend the same courtesy and put ourselves in their shoes and see it from their perspective. Like, yes, having your children run around and screaming all day is mentally exhausting. And then your husband comes home, but he's been in, like, say, the oil fields all day, or he's been roofing all day, or digging trenches all day. Or my friend's an HVAC technician. He's up on a roof at 100-degree weather in Texas during the summer. He comes home, and the first thing out of the woman's mouth is, "Tag, you're it. I'm done. I'm so done." And I'm like, he's literally dripping sweat.
Lost 10 pounds in water weight.
And you say you're done. And I get it that it's two separate. His is physical exhaustion. Yours is mental exhaustion. But the two, one does not negate, one is not better or worse than the other. They're both different kinds of exhaustion. So maybe, just maybe, because he's got like 0% left in his batteries, you could give him 20 minutes. Wait 20 minutes, or better yet, an hour. But if you can't wait an hour, wait 20 minutes for him to calm down, get a shower, get something cool to drink before you pass the torch off for a 20-minute break yourself, not the rest of the night. You're not playing relay tag, you're it. You need a break. I understand that. But a lot of women, their version of a break is like the rest of the night. As soon as their spouse comes home, they're out, tap out, I'm done.
Although they've been sitting on the couch watching The View for an hour and making all their videos and surfing the web and all that other stuff, but they need a break. I'm sorry. Like I said, I raised 6 kids. I know what it's like. And you ain't fooling me, okay? This mental load thing. I love this one. Oh, the mental load. Oh, it is so unbearable. Oh, give me a effing break. If you can't handle pushing a button on a washing machine or a dishwasher, if that's causing you a mental load issue, oh, child, please. Child, please. A mental load is standing 100 feet in the air on a picker, running a line, worrying you're going to fall off.
Or electrocute yourself, or electrocute your team, or
any one of or a mental load is, I don't know, carrying an M4 in a battle zone.
Yeah, so
other guys are shooting at you. That's the mental load.
I hear women use this made-up term, the mental load, and the thing about that is the majority of that mental load is all self-imposed. It's all tasks you assigned yourself
It's true.
without any of his input. It's like wrapping all the Christmas presents. Well, I have to do that. Who says? Did he give you that task, or did you just assume that task? You drew it out of a hat like a freaking rabbit, and you go, "I'm in charge of this." Oh wait, I resent him for that. But he didn't ask you to do it. You took it upon yourself to do this, and now you're complaining that you have to do it.
Or he did it and you didn't like the way he did. I will tell you right now, I am the worst wrapper of presents in the world because I don't give a shit. I'll use duct tape. I don't care, right? It's not going to look picture perfect. And I challenge you, anyone listening, I want you to think back 10 years at whatever present you got. You probably can't even name the present. Go back to 2015, Christmas. Name a present you got that year. But more importantly, name the color of the wrapping paper it was in. I defy you to do that. But it's got to look good. Nobody gives a crap. Okay. That's just creating drama where there doesn't need to be drama. That's why they invented bags and the tissue paper to go on the top.
Well, what was it?
That's fighting words, I know.
20, 30 years ago, the Christmas presents under the tree were all haphazard and, however.
Yeah, that's what made it fun.
Now, everyone gets their own wrapping paper. I'm like, that is ridiculous.
No, we did that. Well, we had 6 kids, so trying to separate all the presents, that we did do that. And it was for one reason only, so we didn't have to worry.
But you did that. You did that for an actual logistical reason,
yes.
not because that's what they're doing on. I saw Cheryl posted on Facebook this idea she got off Pinterest, and I decided that I wanted to do it, and we're gonna have all the Christmas decorations, blah blah blah. And I'm like, are you for that? Is entirely too much work. Well, it wouldn't be so much work if he helped me. He didn't agree to that. Okay, you said you were going to do it. You said, we're going to do this. And he said, okay. That is not him agreeing to help you. That's him acknowledging what you said, but he did not actually agree to it. You made a one-sided contract. And and then they complain. And I'm like, ladies, y'all are doing it to yourself.
Yeah. Or if it's that difficult, if it's that hard to wrap presents, here's another trick to save them all this labor. Every mall that I've ever been to at Christmas
has a
charity, usually a church, that will wrap presents for $1 or $2 or whatever. It's probably more now because I haven't done it in a while, for you. And your donation is going to a good cause. Take the damn presents, give them to those people. Say, I'll see you in an hour. Come back. They're all wrapped for you. Nothing taken. And you're off doing your thing for an hour. Child, please. Again, you're creating a mental load where there doesn't need to be one. Real quick, because Jonathan over on YouTube said, doesn't the name you use on YouTube end in 1988, not 1998? That's for you. So I don't know if you have a typo there. Yep, you do.
Oh, yes, I do.
Fix that. All right. And Curtis, our man Curtis, is has arrived. We do not wrap Santa's gifts. That helps save on the work. There you go. Curtis has said, I'm retired military. I still do laundry, wash laundry, fold it, and all that. She fixed it. I was stalling for you. Yeah, I mean, I do. So my wife and I do my laundry. She does hers because she doesn't like the way I do mine. Okay, that's fine. You do yours. I'll do mine. Problem solved.
I do mine, my husband's, because my Mr. Squirrel works.
You have a different situation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he works his ass off. He's getting smaller, so he is working his ass off. And I do not do my children's. Do you want to know why? Because my job as a parent is to run out of jobs. I do for them until they can do it for themselves, and then it's their job. And on the one time that my son refused to do his laundry for like a month, I get a call from the school. I told them I am not doing it for them. And I said, if you call Child Protective Services on me, I'm going to sue your ass.
And they probably were thinking about doing just that.
And they were like, what? And I was like, I am teaching my child a valuable lesson. What do you think? I was on the phone with the principal for like an hour. I said, what do you think I'm teaching my child if I just break down and do it for him? I'm teaching them if they outlast me, someone will always come and save them and they don't have to really try. Is that really the message you want to be sending the youth of today? What?
Now, Country over on Instagram said he would switch in a heartbeat to be a stay-at-home dad. as would I. If it meant my wife was providing completely for the family. It's the argument I constantly make. Ladies, if you don't like the situation, flip it. And then he talked about, how he spent 2 weeks doing a job surveying a road as a blacktop worker. 240-degree
Oh,
material in the middle of summer. I know. They did our street. And I watched it, and it was 100 degrees that day and 95% humidity. And I sat there and I wanted to cry for those guys. And I even went out there. I'm like, guys, if you need water, let me know. I'll turn on the hose if you want to spray yourself. They were so grateful to me.
the landscapers that come and do our maintain our pool, which is right across from our house, we bring them water during the summer because it's 100 and something degrees out.
So if you think it's so hard being a stay-at-home mom, switch. I have yet to see a woman that's willing to take it up, though. Not one. Because they know. Deep down, they know. And technically now I'm the stay-at-home, right? Because my wife works outside the home. And I work from home doing what you watch me do. So I do most of the housework. And I don't expect when she comes home, I don't think at all of asking her to do a damn thing. She does things, but she does them because she wants to. We just naturally do it, and we appreciate what each other does. Like, the only thing we disagree on is the laundry, right? That's the only thing. So we solved it. It was easy peasy. You do yours, I'll do mine. Problem solved. And I do my laundry every Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is how OCD I am. And it's done by 9:30, 10. Problem solved. And no, I'm not standing there for 2 hours scrubbing it on a rock and beating it to dry it and all this other crap, which is what they want you to believe they're doing. I push the little button, and then I take it out and I move it to the dryer and I push that little button. Takes me all of 30 seconds.
Ladies, if you want to impress me with your laundry doing prowess, play the Harry Potter theme with your washing machine. Then I'll be impressed. But just pushing the two little buttons ain't gonna cut it.
Not that hard. So we're about halfway through the show on most of the channels. Remember, on Instagram, guys, we're going to get cut off after an hour. We have to do a few lives before they let us extend it. So Country, you might want to switch over to YouTube because right now he's the only one I'm seeing on the comments. So at 5, we'll just get cut off on Instagram. That's the way it works. But follow us on the other channels because if you're on TikTok, this may be our last show on TikTok.
It might be.
We don't know. But since we're about halfway through, how about giving us the thumbs up, the like, the heart, all that crap? Let's do a like bomb.
And follow us on our other social media, Facebook and YouTube. We are at Boy Meets Squirrel and at Boy Meets Squirrel 1 on Instagram. The little scrolling thing on the bottom is where you can follow us in case the old clock app goes away.
Which I don't believe it.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, they may take it down temporarily as far as you won't be able to download it from Apple or the Android. But the app will still work. Everything I've done some research on it. Everything indicates you'll still be able to post videos. You'll still be able to watch them. You just won't be able to re-download the app, or they won't be able to update it or anything like that. And again, the very next day, the administration changes. And Trump has already said he doesn't believe it should be banned. So what the DOJ is going to do, or should I say not do, to enforce this is probably going to change from where it is now. Who knows? Who cares? But just to protect yourselves, follow us on the other channels, especially, guys, if you have a Facebook account. I'm begging. Here, let me beg. Please go over to Facebook, look up Boy Meets Squirrel, and just follow us. Before we came on, we were 20 short of being able to go live there, and we want to be able to go live there. We want to add that in. I will tell you, my Men Need to Be Heard Facebook account has exploded.
I'm still sitting pretty at around 40 followers.
On Facebook?
On Facebook.
Really? Well, I'll fix that. I'll get my peeps over to your peeps. I'll put the word out for you. Yeah, I actually... It was about a year ago I went on Facebook because people kept nagging me about it. I don't really pay attention to it, or didn't for like 10 months. And then I looked at it one day and I'm like, holy shit, I have 50,000 followers. I'm like, what the hell happened? So then I started paying a little bit of attention to it. And now I don't know, 80 or 90, whatever it is. But yeah, so make sure you follow us there because we want to put the show live on Facebook. Who knows where people are going to end up? I know there's all sorts of rumors out there that people are going to buy TikTok or everybody's moving to these other ones, Red something or other. I ain't wasting my time on that. I know Lindsay's not either. We've told you where to follow us. Enough said on that. We'll revisit it at the end. Let's get back to the topic because this is such a juicy one. Yeah, and I want to get into, again, I want to get back to that mental load thing that they make videos about. And honestly, I'm looking for the female opinion here, Lindsay, because I just sit here and I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Putting yourself in their shoes, because I know you don't agree with them. What is this mental load they're talking about?
In all honesty, I believe that so home economics used to be a course.
Mm-hmm.
It has been completely removed from almost all syllabi across the country. But in part of home economics is teaching time management skills.
Okay.
And a lot of women, the ones that are left running the household, are not ever taught time management skills. So when you aren't taught how to manage your time, it can be very overwhelming. And that's what they're experiencing. But that's not the man's fault. It's not his fault that you don't know how to manage your time. And you don't only see it in the home. I cannot tell you the number of times when I worked in, say, retail or anywhere, workplace, where I would have young people younger than I, or even my age, because I don't like to admit it, but I am in fact a millennial, but I'm an elder millennial. I would have the younger side of the millennials, anyone born in 1990, after, they would get there and they would have no structure. You'd give them, here's a list of tasks that need to be done. And they would run around like a chicken, like with their head cut off. They'd start something and then they'd get distracted and they'd go to something else. And by the time things are done, they've done 20% of that task, 30% of that task, 5% of that task, but none of them have been to completion. And they're like, well, I was just so overwhelmed. I'm like, I watched you run around like a, I don't know, drunk goldfish, like a Roomba running into walls, ka-funk, ka-funk. And that's what you did all day. If you had just picked a task or put them in order of whichever way would be most expedient, that would make the most logical sense, you would have been done hours ago. So I think while the mental load, what they're talking about is
time management.
It's time management. And while they're calling it a mental load, but what it is it's almost like executive dysfunction. They cannot make a decision about what they should do. And it's almost like they give themselves an anxiety attack. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I can't. So they won't do anything. When I'm at my worst depressed, in my deepest, darkest depression, I'll lay there and I will not have the ability. It's almost like an impossible task.
That's different. That's legitimate. That's very legitimate. Yes,
but
very legitimate.
But when I ask these women to explain it, that's the closest they get. And I'm like, okay, so you're having time management skill problems, and that is leading to a kind of pseudo version of executive dysfunction. And then you're giving yourself an anxiety attack on top of that because, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to get all these tasks done. But it all comes down to, if you would just learn time management, you could easily fix it. And it was like, well, I wasn't taught that. And I'm like, so we're blaming your parents. And at some point, yes, to some extent, you can blame your parents because they didn't teach you something. But past a certain age, it is no longer your parents' fault. You are aware that you have a deficiency. Guess what? Teach yourself. Libraries are still free.
There's this little thing called YouTube where everything is available to learn how to do.
There's a guy.
I have a solution though, Lindsay, to what you're talking about. So every guy, this is what you're going to do tonight. You're going to go over to Amazon. You're going to type in the 1 Minute Manager. It's a little book. I want you all to go buy it. I'm not going to make a cent off of it. And I want you to give it to your wife as a present. It'll go over real well. But honestly, what I used to do with my staff way back when I was a, director level, is I made everyone read that book. I used to buy them in bulk. And anyone that was on my staff had to read that book because it talks about exactly what you're talking about, right? Is managing different tasks, workflows, and all that. It's one of the best books ever written. But if you have the balls, go get the book. And if your wife is complaining about the mental load, hand her the book. Shit, I should get like residuals for this.
You should commission.
It's one of the best. Seriously, all kidding aside, it's one of the best books ever written. If you're someone that struggles with time management and all that, it's one of the best books you could ever read.
I have timers on my phone, and
there you go.
And when the timer goes off, it's time to move on to the next task. And I have set myself these hard goals. Not only do I have timers on my phone, but my wiretap, I can't say her name because she'll wake up. Alexa. For the 90 days, she will also.
Wait. Alexa, set alarm for 2:30 a.m. Screaming noises.
I did
that for one of my clients one time, and it did it.
Sit on it and spin, Dan.
Oh, Lindsay.
Anyway,
you didn't hear me.
But the phone and the wiretap will tell me it's time to move on to the next task. I mean, there are ways to keep yourself on task, but if you
there's a little tool called a cell phone. It's real easy.
Or if you don't have one, go to Walmart and get the little egg, the egg timer or the kitchen timer. Your microwave has a timer. Your oven has a timer. You don't have to turn the oven on in order to use the timer. You don't have to turn the microwave on in order to use the timer. There's ways around this. And so many women they're like, well, I do this at a certain time of day. Well, then the alarm goes off and they don't switch tasks. So then they're like, oh my God, I only have, the remainder amount of time to do this. I'm like, well, whose fault is that? Mm-hmm. Well, it took me longer to do this. Who said you had to stop? Or who said you had to finish? If you set yourself, I'm going to do this for an hour, say like painting. I'm going to paint or clean scrub the floor or something, whatever, for an hour. You set yourself that time. When that hour goes off, even if you're not done, stop, because you have other tasks to complete. Some of them important.
It's about prioritizing,
And you have to prioritize your tasks. So my typical day is I wake up my alarm goes off at 5:45. I get up at 6 o'clock. I get the kids dressed and ready. Basically, I just come downstairs and make sure they're dressed and ready because I no longer have to do that. They're old enough to do it themselves. I walk them outside. I watch them cross the street because we're practicing this thing called independence. I come back inside. I make coffee. I have breakfast. I scroll through and do messages for an hour, and then I'm working on the computer making videos.
Sending me texts.
Yes, all of that until like 11, and then I start doing
this
house tasks.
Yeah. Oh, house tasks.
And I have my day broken up into little chunks, and I hold myself to those little chunks. And
a lot works for you, right?
And that's what works. And so many of the things that I see women complaining about are things that they themselves could easily fix. But they have to acknowledge that they're the only ones who can fix it. But accountability is kryptonite. We all know that. Mm. And they don't want to admit that there's anything wrong with them, that they're doing something wrong. It is so much easier to blame the spouse or the partner. He's not doing this. It's not his job. It's not his job.
Especially if he's the one working and you're a stay-at-home.
Especially if he's the one working. And then they'll sit there and say, again, well, he couldn't afford me. I'm like, first of all, what do you mean afford you? No one would hire you with your poor management skills. You would last 5 minutes at McDonald's. They wouldn't keep you. That's how bad you are. But you want to sit there and tell your husband that you're worth, 6 figures a year? No, you're not.
Your 6 figures a month.
In
some cases, they literally
your labor
believe
is not that valuable. Um,
Yeah, there was one of those memes where they had it at like $1.5 million, which is 6 figures a month. That's why I mentioned that. And I remember seeing that one. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And it goes back to what you're saying. They took the top level of every one of those, the executive chef, all this stuff to get to that number. And all the women were underneath it going, yeah, that's what we're worth, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not, you know? Quick thing I want to, because somebody, Daryl over on TikTok put a question in. I do want to address it real quick, even though it's off topic. He said, my narcissistic wife asked me for a divorce yesterday. Do you have any advice for me? And I don't want to leave him hanging because that's a legitimate question. Lindsay, I'll let you go first and then I'll go.
Get a lawyer quickly.
Well, you just stole my thunder. No. Yes. So unless you're more than willing, because if you can represent yourself, but you need to be willing to put in the work to educate yourself and all that stuff. But do not wait. Do not wait to pass go. Get your ass.
Don't wait for her.
Wait.
Go get now.
Go interview 3 or 4 different lawyers. Ask your friends, family for recommendations. And go meet with. Don't take the first lawyer ever. Meet with 3 or 4 of them, which, by the way, has a side benefit. Every lawyer you meet with, your soon-to-be ex can no longer use, conflict of interest. So if you really want to be evil, go meet with about 20. It's a dirty tactic, but it's one you can use. Every lawyer you go meet with, she can no longer be represented by them. So, not saying I ever did that. But she'll end up with the bottom of the barrel lawyers, which can be a bad thing, by the way, because those are the ones that'll file motion after motion. But 1, yes, go get a lawyer. 2, get yourself some support is the other thing, whether it's a family member you can trust, a friend, a buddy, whatever, because you're going to need it. Don't try and go it alone. The biggest mistake I talk about all the time that I made in my divorce was trying to handle it all by myself as far as the mental load. You need someone that can have your back and call you out on your BS and keep you in line. Those would be the 2 things I would come up with right off the top of my head. And I know there's a million others that people can mention. Curtis just jumped in. If she wants a divorce, get a lawyer. Email yourself, journal multiple times a day. Great tip. And yeah, like he conflict the attorneys out. It's the mistake a lot of guys make with the attorneys is they, their buddy Joe said, I use this attorney and seemed to be all right. And then they go use that one. And that's the only one they ever interview. And they may be good. They may be bad. The most important thing with an attorney is that you can communicate with them and feel safe and communicate with them. And you're not going to find that with every attorney.
Yes, and record everything, not necessarily, or keep evidence. So if you say
keep a journal,
they're narcissistic. You need dates, times. As difficult as it is, do not rise to their bait because
facts, not feelings.
Facts, not feelings, because in a court, emotion is a boon for a woman. It is kryptonite for a man. You need to be an emotionist T1000 automaton.
Yes. And
Terminator.
If you're going to journal, don't put it anywhere that she can find it. So if you have an iPhone and it's up to the cloud, nope, because she may get access to it. You may think you have a different password, but women are evil. Sorry, Lindsay. No. And they're very intelligent and they know how to find passwords. Back in the day with me, I used to keep it on a floppy drive. That's how old it was. I still have them all. And then eventually
I have a funny story.
Go ahead.
One guy's you're asking questions that's not to do with this topic. So we're going to stay on topic for today, but we were going through a box in the garage and my 8-year-old pulled out a floppy disk and he goes, Mommy, why do you have a 3D printed save button? I about died.
That's great. Yeah. That's something we should do down the road in the near future. Maybe have a, where we do a show where we're talking about stuff like that. Guys, just real quick, we're going to lose you on Instagram. So if you're following us on Instagram, you're going to go bye-bye any second now. So jump on over to YouTube or TikTok for now, or where's the other one? X, Twitter. And continue. We're going to be on for another half hour on those. If you're on Insta, we'll say goodbye now. I see country already switched because it will drop. I'm going to leave it up until it drops on its own. But that's something we should think about, Lindsay, is have a show where we kind of talk about, there it goes, Insta's going, where we talk about that stuff, because that's a lot of valuable information. And you know what? I can get David Pizarro, the divorce attorney, to come on with us.
Ooh,
I know David will do it. So if you guys think that would be something that you would be interested in, I can reach out, because I just was chatting with him yesterday. If you want me to see if I can get David on, he's a divorce attorney. He's one of the good ones. And maybe do a live show where you guys can ask questions and talk about this stuff. Let us know in the comments. If it's something you guys would be interested in, I can make it happen. There they go. Yes, do it.
Curtis is giving us directive.
And Curtis can answer questions too. David is awesome. He's in LA. I was chatting with him because of all the fires out there and other things. And he's good. So I was so glad to hear that. But I will reach out to him tonight or tomorrow, and I know he'll do it because he's been on my podcast. Getting back to our topic, though, I hope we answered his question. When it comes to, here's the other thing that I wanted to bring up. In the scheme of life, is your towels not being folded the end of the world? Is a dish sitting on the counter the end of the world? And yet that's exactly what people in general, but women in particular, make it out to be.
Well, I think in many cases, they micromanage and they focus on these inconsequential details and they make mountains out of molehills, because it's easier to focus on these inconsequential details than admit fault on their own. So in other words, they're a deeply flawed individual. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of work to do to make themselves better people, but they don't want to do that work because that requires, again, a looking glass and personal accountability. So in order to avoid having to do that, they focus all their attention on something that is truly inconsequential. How the towels are folded, the dishes, because those are the things they can control. They can't control.
That's a good point.
Or maybe even when I was at my most controlling. When
you were controlling.
I was after my second child, I was diagnosed with extreme postpartum depression.
Really?
I'm
learning something new. You never told me this.
And I could not get to see the military would not get me to see a psychologist. They told me, and I quote, "Have you considered it's all in your head?" And I'm like, I know that it's all in my head. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is. Duh. See, I learned something new about you today.
And I was so deeply unhappy with myself, and I tended to focus on what I could control. My anxiety was through the roof. My anxiety and my depression were feeding themselves, and I was as close to checking the little unaliving box at the bottom of my doctor forms as I have ever gotten before in my life. So I focused on what I could control, which was how the towels are folded, how the dishes are done. I could control those things. I couldn't control what was happening up here, because the chemicals in my brain were all kinds of whacked out. I couldn't control anything else. I couldn't control what my children were doing. They were too really young to have that self-control. Eric's job was all crazy. He was going halfway around the world, and
he was in the military. Yeah,
he was in the military. I couldn't control that, but I could control this. So I focused on that, and I'm not proud of that. But having experienced that, I can actually put myself in some of these women's shoes and go, I know what's happening. And if you continue to do this, you will end up alone with cats, because you will drive everyone away. Mm-hmm. Rather than focus on the things that you need to change in order to be better. And my mother did not help me. She kept saying that you need to go to counseling. And we tried that. We tried going to counseling. And even at my worst, I recognized that the counseling was not helping, because all they wanted to do was blame Eric.
We've done shows on that too.
Even as deeply as unhappy as I was, I understood that it was not Mr. Squirrel's fault.
Well, technically it was. He knocked you up. I'm trying to make a little joke. Come on.
But like I understand
Yeah, I get it.
where they're coming from. That you're trying to control what you can. But it's to your own detriment.
Okay.
Because you'll be so much happier if you take a page out of Queen Elsa's book and just let it go. And it's but what it is it's an avoidance tactic is what it is.
Well, I mean, again, you go back to why are we stressing over these stupid things? Now, I'm not saying you just trash your house and leave it for weeks on end, but a towel being on the floor or a glass on the sink or I don't know, a wrapper from a candy bar being left on an end table. A guy told me not too long ago his wife lost her shit at him because he had a Snickers bar and left the wrapper on the end table. And how dare he not go put it in the trash? And she had to do it for him. And I'm like, and I had this conversation with him. I'm like, if that's driving her nuts, I have OCD. It would drive me nuts. But I would just go pick the damn thing. If my wife did that, I would pick the damn thing up and go throw it in the trash. It takes 2 seconds. But she was losing her shit at him. And then we had the conversation of you got a deeper problem than some Snickers bar wrapper, right? But again, they focus on this stuff, laser focus on it, and it's always in a negative way. And then ultimately they wonder why their marriage ended.
Well, and then the rest of their and when I finally got in to see someone, because it was at the point where I needed medication to
you had
to
a
help
physical
fix it.
problem.
I had a physical problem,
Yeah.
and it was basically like I was trying to squint harder. It's like taking off my glasses and telling me to squint harder, and it was not a good situation. But I broke down as soon as I got into the office, and I go, everything's falling apart. I can't regulate myself, even though I'm trying. All these things are going wrong, but God damn it, the towel is folded. And I'm
like you said, it's the one thing you could control.
It's the one thing I could control. This poor woman looks at me and she goes, "We'll fix you." But I knew that something was wrong. I recognized that something was wrong because I have not always been like this. This was a new phenomenon. But I think a lot of women, either because they had a bad relationship with their mother or a very controlling mother who had these issues, and then they kind of inherited these issues themselves, they think it's normal.
Well, that's where I was going to go to that was where it was going to be my question for you is, okay, your particular situation was due to postpartum depression, which can be a very long-term thing, by the way, right? But generally it's not. How do you reconcile that with the women that are in that mindset where I have to be able to control this one thing for decades?
I think mental health has come a long way in recognizing a lot of these issues. And I truly, really believe, because I have talked to so many women who were raised like that, that they're raised in that environment with mothers that are deeply unhappy, or that mothers that have all these undiagnosed issues. So they think it's normal. For the same reason that my brother, the same
argument I would make for men too, right? Yeah.
And the same reason that my argument that my brother who thinks that it's perfectly normal to try and choke his sister because our parents never told him not to.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can equate it to like with, this time of year, everybody's trying to lose weight, right? And one of the things I often say to people that are struggling to lose weight is you are so used to being overweight, it feels normal to you to be exhausted and carry around 50 pounds of extra weight and that type of thing. And one of the tricks I do with people who have lost weight to keep them on track. I did it with a guy who had lost 100 pounds. So I happen to have a weight vest, and it held 80 pounds. And he was a mortician, by the way. So I said, his name was Tom. I said, Tom, you've lost 100 pounds. Awesome. Now we got to make sure you keep it off. So I made him wear that 80-pound weight vest. I said, you put it on the minute you wake up in the morning, and you don't take it off till you go to bed at night. And he came back to me a couple days later and he goes, oh my God. And I said, yes, because you don't realize it day to day because it's normal to you. And it's exactly what you're talking about, right?
Mhm.
It becomes your norm and you can't see that
You
it's
can't see the
really
forest through the
shouldn't be.
trees.
Right, right, right.
So they get kind of stuck in all this their sense of normal, and it's normal for them. And then they'll get together with a guy who it's not normal for that.
Mhm.
Either the guy's more well adjusted or for whatever reason. And she goes, no, that's not normal. And it's like error does not compute danger, Will Robinson, because someone is finally telling her this is not normal, baby, there's something wrong with you. And rather than say, oh, there's something wrong with me, maybe I should fix that, which I've seen guys be more willing to correct the issue. For some reason, women make it their whole personality, and if you dare give
That's
them
what I'm talking about. Yeah,
try and make it their whole personality, and if you tell them, baby, there's something wrong with you, no, there's not, they'll almost double down.
but it goes back to what I'm saying is, all right, so they start blaming their husband for, whatever. And then end up divorcing him because they can do better. Only then now they're on their own and the problem's still going to be there. And the next guy that comes along, they never get out of that, which is why, they have second, third, fourth marriages and they all end up breaking up for the same reasons. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of older divorced women who've been married multiple times and almost to a woman, they've divorced the second and third time for the same reason they did the first time. And I'm like, something ain't computing here, ladies.
The common I'm in a debate with that on Facebook right now. With I was talking about the divorce rate, and the two reasons that women give are lack of commitment in something and infidelity. It's like, well, we can't use infidelity because men and women committed at equal rates.
And it's actually less than 20% of the time.
And it's, yeah. So you can't use that. But they're like, so you're blaming it on women. I said, no, I actually said that it's usually about, maybe a 40-60 split. But the problem with women initiate 80% of divorce is the reasons women give are the same reasons that they give in every divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there saying, well, women are saying that it's all the men's fault. Except it's not. We can't just take their side of the story. We have to hear the men's side
which
as
they
well,
never want
which
to
they
discuss.
never want to discuss. But you'll have a woman and she'll get married. And I looked it up. 80% of divorced women get remarried.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something like 70% of them get divorced again.
Yeah. So second marriage. So first marriages, it's about I'm rounding 40% divorce rate. Second, it gets approaching 70. Third is about 75.
So I said, okay, so you took this woman, and I took a woman that I knew, and I said, okay, let's push an example. She divorced her husband because he wasn't doing all these things that you say that women are divorcing their husbands for. Fine. She got remarried, and her new husband didn't do that either.
That's what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about.
And he said, what are the odds that two men have the exact same problems? Or common denominator, could it possibly be that she might have some culpability in this? And of course, the overwhelming consensus, at least on this particular Facebook post, was that I'm full of shit and that I just hate women.
Yeah, that's their default. I hear that's. I'm so sick of hearing that one. You just hate women. What? No, but that's what I'm finding in talking to these women is they've become laser focused. It's the thing I argue all the time. A guy can do 99 things right. That one thing he doesn't do right, that's all she's going to care about and laser focus on. And that's what I'm finding in talking to these women is they can recite chapter and verse to the nitpickiest little thing on something a guy does wrong. And then I'll say to them, well, tell me what he did right. And they go, because they don't see it. They don't acknowledge it. And that's what happens with housework, right? Guy can load the dishwasher and all that. And the problem with guys, and I'm not saying we're wrong, is you'll often hear women, why does he always tell me he did something? Why does he want me to acknowledge it? Because you never acknowledge it, ladies. We can do 100 things around the house. You'll find that one thing we didn't do. You'll never acknowledge anything we do. Or the argument, well, I spent 3 hours mowing the lawn.
Well,
the
argument, the reason why that I have experienced that they tell you is because the women will sit there and say, you never do anything.
Yeah.
So it's not that he's looking for a pat on the back. He's telling you, I did this.
Yep.
I did that, because you have accused him of doing nothing. So this is his counter argument. I'm not going to read it because Mr. Squirrel made it kind of X-rated. But the other day,
oh no, text it to me later.
My husband writes performance previews, and I asked him, well, can I have a performance review? I was kidding.
No.
But I got one with exceeds expectations. But my favorite thing is that he said that what did he say? This made me so happy because women are constantly don't do this. So I made me so happy. What did he say? Hold on.
Share your performance review with the audience.
Creates a safe and comfortable space for both of us to connect on a deeper level and has excellent communication.
Which is what every guy wants.
So I'm framing that. I'm going to print it out.
I'm sure you cleaned it up a little, but yeah.
Yeah, but
I bet he had and gives really good. I didn't say anything. I guess no.
But that means I'm doing a good job of not doing all these things that I'm complaining about, or that I see women complain about, right? Because I honestly, what got me out of my funk was I was already in with the I was already with male SA and DV stats. That's where I got my start. Mm-hmm. But I had a guy reach out to me while I was at my absolute lowest, and he wasn't doing, and he was a long time friend. And he goes, I'm getting ready to go through a divorce. You are my talk to person. And he started telling me all these things that the wife is doing, and they were ringing true with me. So I recognized the poor behavior in her and how I was mirroring it. And I said, I don't want to be like this woman. I don't want to be anything like her, who is causing him to question, remaining in the land of the living. And how am I going to fix it? Because I don't want to be like this person, or any person like them. And I'm going to pat myself on the back for the fact that I could look in the mirror and not try and break the mirror. I accepted the reflection back, but so many women won't. You hold up a mirror to them to try and help them, because what they're doing is hurting themselves. They're hurting themselves, and they're hurting everyone around them, because hurt people hurt people. So you hold up a mirror trying to show them this is what you're doing. And rather than accept the image they see, they punch the mirror and shatter it. Mm-hmm. They would rather be blind than accept the truth. And it's really to their own detriment. It really,
well, that's why they end up getting divorced so often, right? Is because
and their kids don't talk to them, and
they're so focused on what he didn't do, they can't see anything he did do. They won't acknowledge it. They certainly won't appreciate it. He gets to the point where I've done all this shit. She doesn't see it. Why do I keep doing it? And then he gives up, and then they fall further and further apart. End up in divorce court, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting each other, and end up miserable. And, then next thing you know, she's 62 years old, broke, and can't find a man.
Well, not only is she blind to what he's doing, she's focusing on all the things he did do. And she's focused on the one thing he didn't do. Yeah. But because she's so focused on what he didn't do, she's also blind to what she's not doing either.
Oh, they never acknowledge
what she is doing. Real quick, Curtis. Yes, Mr. Squirrel's performance.
I saw that.
Reads. Well, that's how it got started, because we were talking. I said, "What did you do all day?" For he had the 1 week in the month. So on Sunday he came home exhausted. Said, "What's so tiring?" He's like, "I spent all day writing performance previews for people under me." I said, "Well, I'm under you. Can you write me one?" It was a joke. And he sends me this very professional, very military-esque. I'll send it to you later.
I was to say, you have to send it to me, because I will get because your husband's awesome.
But you're so focused on someone else that means that you are not forced to look at yourself. And that's what it comes down to, because women today are on more antidepressants than ever before, prescribe more antidepressants
Far
than
more
ever
than men,
before,
by the way.
more than men.
Far more.
Women do attempt unaliving more, but it's usually more of a cry for help, because it's a final cry for help. So women are deeply unhappy. We even have studies of it. We've been taking studies of it for the past 40 years. Women are more unhappy now than they were 40 years ago. And yet women are freer now than they were 40 years ago, supposedly. So you have to wonder why.
Well, some of that goes into they've been sold, as I said in a video, they've been sold a bridge in Brooklyn, right? In fact, it's a video that's coming out, I think, tomorrow, where feminism told them that if you go get a career and you're going to be magically happy and all this stuff, and the stuff we're talking about here, and in the end, they're not happier. In fact, they're ending up like men, right? Because then their whole life becomes their career and they're miserable. And then, of course, they're going to blame the men instead of blaming the feminists who convinced them that this was the way to go. And then they start nitpicking the negative stuff instead of focusing on the positive. You want the divorce rate to go down? You want, ladies, if you, not that we have many listening, but ladies, if you want to improve your marriage, first thing you need to do is every single day find something to acknowledge that your husband has done. Doesn't matter how little it is. You don't need to spend an hour. We just got restricted.
Well, we only got 10 minutes.
Wait. It gets better. Live restricted for some audiences. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and has been restricted because we violated community guidelines. This from the company that's getting banned and fought in the Supreme Court to say
freedom of speech.
First Amendment freedom of speech. You guys are so full of shit, TikTok. I cannot wait for Sunday.
No,
that's freaking hilarious.
No, I said women attempt more. Men succeed.
Men
more.
succeed. Men are better at it. Unfortunately,
they're better at it.
Unfortunately,
they're to 4 times better than women. But you can save someone who tried and failed. You cannot save the dead.
I mean, and that is something we need to acknowledge. Women do try it more often. They're just not as good at it. And I don't mean that as a joke in any way. It's sad that anyone does that. And unfortunately, for guys, it's over 100 a day on average. So,
But I think the parting sentiment that we need to go with here is the lie that feminists has sold us is that it is someone else's job. It is your partner's job to make you happy.
No one can make another person happy. Nope.
No. And I got into so much trouble on Facebook, and I didn't mean with Facebook, but the women were so ornery. They pitched and god awful fit because I dared to say that it is not your partner's job to make you happy. It is your job. It's a personal responsibility. You make yourself happy, and then you go find someone to be happy with. But if you cede control of your happiness to someone else, you will never be fulfilled. You will die miserable and alone because no one else can make you happy the way you can. No one can. It's impossible. And that's the lie that feminism and the modern, every romance movie out there, all the Disney movies, all of the romance novels, all of it for the past 100 years. 100 years has sold you is that the man you'll find someone and you'll make each other happy. No, you make yourself happy. He makes himself happy. And then you are more happy together. But if you're miserable, there's nothing that the other person can do to make you happy. They might be able to temporarily alleviate your sadness by giving you, I don't know, a puppy or something, but that's on surface level. It will eventually go away. And it's your job to make yourself happy. And that's what I had to do, the work that I had to do when I was that depressed, was that I had to find a way to make myself happy again. Because I was so abjectly miserable. And it is a lot of work to crawl or dig out of that hole. but you have to do it. Someone else can't do it. Now,
Can't do it for you.
Mr. Squirrely was next to me the whole time holding the lantern so that I could
Being
see where I was
supportive.
going.
Yeah.
Occasionally he held my hand while I was climbing, but he didn't do any of the climbing for me. And I think that's what women, it comes down to, is that women get in these deep, dark holes and they want the feminist myth. They want some man to come and save them. And at some point, you can't be the damsel. You have to save yourself.
Yeah, if you are dependent on someone else to make you happy, you're in a very bad place, and you need to address that, probably with professional help. All right, we got about 4 or 5 minutes left, so we've got to address the elephant that's no longer going to be in the room come Sunday, and a few other things. So for those of you on TikTok, as you saw, we just got restricted a few minutes ago. At least we got an hour and 20 in before they did it.
It's more than 5 minutes.
That's a new record in the opposite direction from what we normally see. But this is why I have almost 300,000 followers on TikTok. I don't give two shits if it gets banned. I really don't. If you enjoy my content or Lindsay's, make sure you follow us on the other social medias. We're both going to be on Facebook, YouTube, Insta. I'm also on Twitter/X. Just look for Men Need to Be Heard. You'll find me, or Squirrely Girl. You'll find her. We're going to continue the show. We'll try and put it up on TikTok next week. Who knows? But even TikTok doesn't like us, and I hope they do go bye-bye, if I can be honest with you, because I think they are just despicable with how they. I mean, nothing we're saying here should make anyone feel uncomfortable. Really, I mean, you have to report us for that.
Well, no, it should make you uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you change and grow. Growth is not comfortable.
But if you're not willing to change, and if your only answer is to report people and try and silence them because you don't like what they're saying, again, you need help. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. It's the towels. Yeah. So I see you scrolling on the bottom how they can follow you right now. But most importantly, this show is going to be on all the Boy Meets Squirrel channels. I'll let you. Oh, you already did it. So make sure you follow us on Insta and YouTube, Boy Meets Squirrel. We are going to be putting more content up on those. Also Facebook. And I know damn well y'all got a Facebook account. You may not use it because I don't use my personal one anymore. But you could just do us a favor. Go on Facebook for 2 seconds. Type in Boy Meets Squirrel. You'll see the little picture of the boy and the squirrel and their little white banner. Click on it, follow us so we can get over 100 and we can be live on that.
We were 20 short when we started the live today. Surely there are 20 of you who like listening to us yammer.
Yeah, I mean, because we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. So I just opened up the screen. Let me see where we're at, because I'm going to find out if anybody's done it. And then I'm going to beg some more. Okay, it just opened up to a meme that's just totally disgusting. Well, we got 5, so we're 15 short. So I know right now there's a couple hundred of you listening across the various things. Do us a favor, jump over to Facebook. I know you have an account. It's Boy Meets Squirrel.
I have 54 followers on Facebook and 48 likes. That's it. Yeah. That's all.
Go follow her. Go follow that. If you're not following me on Facebook, follow me there. And again, and Lindsay's the same. Our primaries, if you're on TikTok, we're both using YouTube as our primary. We also use Insta and the other ones, but I put a lot of content on YouTube that I cannot put anywhere else for a lot of reasons. Some people think YouTube's the worst. I actually find
I have not had any problems with it.
I've been actually talking to some of the other creators behind the scenes. Sarah, I don't know if she's still on, but I was talking with Sarah Eaton earlier this week, and I said, Meta is bad. It's not the greatest, but you should get on there. But YouTube should be your primary. Of all the things, I think YouTube, at least for those of us in this space talking about men's issues, I've never had a single issue on YouTube. Not one in the years that I've been on it. I've only had a couple on Meta, to be fair, but I have had issues. TikTok is a never-ending problem. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't think it'll ultimately go away, and we'll still be here as long as it is, but time will tell.
That's all we got. That's all she wrote.
I know I babbled on there, but you know.
It's fine. I babbled for most of the show. It's
Oh,
like
she used the F word. Oh no. You know what
Oh.
happens when a woman says it's fine, right? It's anything but fine.
But I actually mean it.
Bull. No, I'm only kidding. All right, wrap it up.
All right, guys, that's it. That's all we wrote for this week. We will see you next week if it's at all available or, not.
All right, till next time, guys. Have a good one.